If you hate the 49ers, then hit that subscribe button and make sure that you pull up with me and Jeremy Chuggs on Saturday when Raider Nation takes down the Bang Bang Niner gang. Can you even imagine telling friends, Bang Bang Niner gang? Still absolutely blows my mind. Coming up here live on today's show, I'm going to get into Geno Smith. He was disrespected by a bunch of NFL GMs and executives out there. I'm going to tell you what exactly was said and where he ended up ranking for their quarterback list. Also, multiple Raiders players have been linked to a trade. I'm going to talk about who those two guys are, one of them which is Aidan O'Connell. Now, I did not plan on talking about any news that ended up happening today, but the Las Vegas Raiders, they just made two roster moves as it stands right now. The first one, they ended up signing wide receiver Marquez Callaway, who actually at one point was on this team. Back in 2023, he was on our practice squad. Last season was on the practice squad for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, so there's that little bit of that turnover, if you will, with John Spytek, and the Silver and Black decided to move on from wide receiver Kawaan Baker. So at the end of the day, and this is what I always tell people, when the Raiders end up making a move, I hope they end up hitting that subscribe button. If you're wondering what type of player Callaway is, he's 6'2", 200-pounder. He's more of a field stretcher, I'll be honest with you. Hasn't really done anything over the past few seasons, but he did come on strong when he was with the New Orleans Saints early on in his career. In 47 games played, 83 catches, 1,069 yards, 7 touchdowns, and unfortunately, he has battled some injuries, which has kind of hurt his ability to get on the field. I think at the end of the day, what the Raiders are trying to do is they're trying to prepare for joint practice, and joint practice this week is going to be up against the 49ers, and it's going to be a physical week of practice, and the Raiders just want to make sure that they have enough bodies to be able to get through, also enough bodies for wide receivers on special teams. But as it stands right now, this is what the Raiders' new wide receiver depth chart ends up looking like. You can see we slotted Callaway down there at the very bottom. All right, let's get into some of the Raiders rumors here on today's show. Again, appreciate each and every one of y'all always tuning in. The first one coming up here today is around Geno Smith, and was he disrespected by NFL executives? You're damn right he was. For just win, babies. Believe it, baby. If you see this, this means I 100% think that he was disrespected. And if you did not see what The Athletic ended up putting out, they ended up putting out an article where they rank all of the different starting quarterbacks and all the different QBs in general in the league. And it was a ranking between 6 GMs, 6 assistant GMs, 6 former GMs, 5 other executives, 8 head coaches, and 19 other coaches involved, which some of those were also coordinators. Essentially, they put Geno Smith as the 19th best quarterback in the National Football League, putting him in Tier 3, which 11 other quarterbacks were in this tier, and I'll kind of illustrate what Tier 2 was, what Tier 3 necessarily was, because I don't necessarily have a big issue with them putting Geno in Tier 3 when you see the description of it, but based on the rankings and based on the way that Tier 2 is described, I kind of think that he deserves to be in that realm a little bit more. So I know it might be difficult to see, but Geno's down here, where is he? Number 19. He's not worse than Trevor Lawrence, and I think the only reason why Trevor Lawrence is even put above Geno is because of the name value, but I'll tell you this right now. I'm going to take Geno Smith, and I'm going to show you a bunch of the numbers that are going to prove that this guy is one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the National Football League. So this will be the pinned comment here on today's episode. While you're getting hit with a YouTube ad break, I want you to scroll on down and give me your honest answer. Where would you rank Geno Smith amongst all NFL quarterbacks? My answer after this YouTube ad break. I'm going to continue to stick with me saying that I believe Geno Smith is the 14th best quarterback in the National Football League, but I do think that he's got top 10 upside when you look at the players that we have, when you look at the coaches that we have, and you look at the type of player that Geno Smith is. Now, in terms of where The Athletic put him, they put him in Tier 3, which putting Geno in the same tier as Bo Nix makes me want to just... I'm not even going to say what I was going to say. I'll get banned. The Athletic on Tier 3 quarterbacks. A Tier 3 quarterback is a legitimate starter, but needs a heavier running game and or defensive component to win. A lower volume drop-back passing offense suits him best. Now, I'll say this. I actually don't fully disagree with that write-up. Do I think Geno Smith would be a better quarterback with a better defense and a better running game? Yeah, who the frick wouldn't? But based on the tiers and based on the rankings, I think that he deserves to be in tier 2 because I do think that he's a top 14 starter right now. And when you look at the tier 2 rankings, they do kind of smush them together between like 8 and 14. That's where I believe Geno Smith is, because this is what The Athletic has to say on tier 2 quarterbacks. A tier 2 quarterback can carry his team sometimes, but not as consistently. He can handle pure passing situations in doses and or possesses other dimensions that are special enough to elevate him above tier 3. He has a hole or two in his game, which, again, I look at all of those things that are being said, and that aligns exactly what Geno Smith is. I mean, we talk a lot of times about quarterback wins. Geno Smith, 6th most quarterback wins over the past 3 seasons. But if you want to look at just numbers and numbers alone, here are Geno Smith's 2024 pure drop-back stats. So essentially, this is when the pocket is clean, when there's no blitzing, and when Geno's horrible offensive line just was average last season. He was first in explosive pass rate, 3rd in on-target rate, 5th in completion percentage over expected, 8th in success rate, 13th in EPA per dropback. These are a lot of, I would call them, next-gen stats. These are some more higher-level analytics that prove when Geno Smith, you give him a average pocket, he is much more than a above-average passer. And I can't wait for the entire NFL to see it. But I know the number one stat that people always look at when they talk about quarterbacks, and whether you like it or not, it's the quarterback wins margin. So the fact that dudes like Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Jared Goff are the only 5 quarterbacks that have more wins than Geno over the past 3 seasons, all those guys are ranked tier 1, tier 2. Geno Smith has the numbers to prove that he deserves to be ranked higher. Geno Smith has the wins to prove that he deserves to be ranked higher. And if you want to see a video that goes way more in depth on why I think that you could actually say that he is an elite quarterback if you look at the numbers and you look at the numbers alone. If you want to watch this video, I made it back on May 27th. So it's going to be down in the comments. It's going to be in the description of today's show. This video is also going to hint at another video that I did back in April. If you're a Geno Smith doubter or if you're a Geno Smith truther, you're going to want to send that one to your buddies because you're going to either be very smart or you're going to tick some people off because they're going to go, shit, yeah, Geno Smith is very, very underrated. Coming up next here on the show, let's get into some of the Raiders players that have been linked to trade rumors. And I'm going to, specify what exactly I mean by some of these trade rumors because some of them, legitimate sources. Others, not really legitimate sources. But before I get into all of that, I do want to give a shout out to today's sponsor, and you've heard me talk about Mando before. Well, guess what? Mando is one of my favorite places out there because I love the deodorant that they have. Why? Raider season is almost here, and if you plan on traveling to Vegas, I got the perfect hack for you so you don't stink thanks to our sponsor, Mando. As a special offer for our listeners, new customers get 20% off site-wide with our exclusive code. Use code CHAT at shopmando.com for 20% off site-wide plus free shipping. 2 products that I'm obsessed with right now. Mando 4-in-1 acidified cleansing bar and Mando sweat control deodorant stick. For the 4-in-1 acidified cleansing bar, it's shampoo, face wash, body wash, and deodorant all in one bar. Also, it works as a shaving lather, so maybe it's technically 5-in-1. Simplify your whole hygiene routine, and you can save space in your bag if you're trying to travel to Las Vegas. Mando Sweat Control Deodorant Stick. I will say, only for your armpits. Stop odor before it starts. All-day odor blocking, not just masking with fragrance. Also, it fights sweat, so you kind of get some of that double protection in there. It's so simple. 1 or 2 swipes underneath each arm, and you're going to be fresh and clean all day. Safe for all skin types. Doctor-developed, high-quality premium ingredients. Every ingredient serves a purpose, no fillers or junk. This isn't your average deodorant or antiperspirant. It combats sweat, stops odor, and respects your skin. Mando Starter Pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice. Think of it like mini body wash and deodorant wipes and free shipping. And as a special offer for our listeners, new customers get 20% off site-wide with our exclusive code. Use code CHAT at shopmando.com for 20% off site-wide plus free shipping. That's shopmando.com. Please support the Raiders Report. Tell them that we sent you. Mando's got you covered. Protect your pits smell great doing it. And if you're trying to go out to Las Vegas, I'm telling you, Mando is really going to help you stay fresh, stay clean, and now that you can easily pack it in, because when I fly to Vegas anymore, I'm taking a backpack. I don't really take a suitcase anymore. Shout out to Mando for sponsoring the Raiders Report. Let's go to the next storyline here, and it's going to be around Aidan O'Connell. And are the Raiders shopping AOC? I'm going to give this one just win, baby. I'm going to say that there's a small shred of truth, and when I say a small shred of truth, I'm going to say there is a 1 to 5% chance that the Raiders are actually trying to move on from Aiden. And the source here, let's be very clear. It's the internet. Over the past 48, 72, hell, basically since the Raiders and the Seahawks played, the amount of Aidan O'Connell trade videos, articles, anything, it's been flying out there left and right, which I almost find hilarious because I would get called, I can't even tell you some of the names, I would get called for even just entertaining the idea or talking about the possibility of Aiden being traded. Now, let's be very clear here. Could the Raiders move on if they got a good offer? Sure. I know they're very confident in Cam Miller, and Cam Miller flat out outplayed AOC against the Seattle Seahawks in that first preseason game. And I know that the Raiders drafted Cam Miller in the 6th round, so they do feel pretty high on him, and we know Tom Brady likes him a lot. But the reason why I'm giving this only one just win, baby, is because I don't think the Raiders want to trade away Aidan O'Connell. And I'll say this, if I was John Spytek and Pete Carroll, this is coming from me because all I ever hear is how much I hate Aiden, when in fact, I like the guy. If I was with the Raiders and they were looking at me today, one of my buddies is literally getting ready to go have dinner with Mark, with Spytek, and with Pete Carroll in a few hours, and I'm going to tell them not to trade Aidan O'Connell. And I say that because there's multiple reasons why. Whether you like Aiden, whether you think he's limited, and he is a very limited passer, but he is a solid quarterback too. Let's face it, if Geno Smith goes down, Cam Miller ain't going to save our season. Aidan O'Connell ain't going to save our season. So I think having a solid quarterback, too, that has started 17 games in his first 2 years, that has played in 20 games, that has dealt with a bunch of different head coaches, dealt with a bunch of different teams, dealt with a different OCs. I mean, it goes on and on and on. Aidan O'Connell is a solid quarterback, too. The other reason why I don't see the Raiders honestly moving on from him, he is a cheap backup. And when you think about how much money some quarterbacks are getting as a backup, I mean, just a few years ago, Raiders paid Marcus Mariota $10 million last season. I know Minshew ended up being the starter, but we had Gardner Minshew for a short amount of time. Basically gave him $15 million to be the backup. Look at Kirk Cousins right now. Backup. The fact that you have a quarterback with starting experience that is as good as what Aiden is, because he is a good quarterback too. At the price tag of $1 million, the vet minimum essentially, that's a steal. And then the final reason is this, and this is the most important reason. It allows Cam Miller to develop. And if you're sitting up here going, Mitch, Cam Miller's better than Aidan O'Connell, then you should want the Raiders to keep AOC. Because if, God forbid, Geno goes down, you're going to throw a rookie right out into the fire, and that's not how you get better. If you want Cam Miller to become the best quarterback that he possibly can be, you keep Aidan O'Connell on your roster, and you let him learn from AOC. You let Cam Miller compete against Aidan O'Connell because Aiden's going to bring it every single day. And that's what you got to respect about him. He's going to go out there and he's going to compete every single day. So if you agree with the idea of keeping Cam Miller at quarterback 3 to let him develop behind Aidan O'Connell as quarterback 2, if you think that's a smart thing for this organization to do, I want you to hit that like button because it is a very smart thing for this organization to do. Now, I will say this. Since we're talking about trades, I will say if the Raiders did end up saying, hey, we're going to be taking some phone calls, who wants Aidan O'Connell? I'm going to put 3 teams out there. Number 1 has got to be the Tennessee Titans, though I do know the Titans, they just signed Trevor Siemian literally like 2 hours ago or something like that. But the reason why Tennessee's on here is behind Cam Ward, they got nothing. And if you watch the Titans preseason game, nothing might be more than the performance that I saw on the field. But Dave Ziegler was a part of the regime with Josh McDaniels that ended up bringing in Aidan O'Connell in 2003. Same exact reason here for New England. I know they have Josh Dobbs as the backup, but at the same time, Josh McDaniels loved AOC. And he's the OC right now in New England. The third team I'll throw in here is the Indianapolis Colts because I'll tell you this right now to anybody out there watching in Indy. If the Colts are actually trying to win football games, Aidan O'Connell is a better quarterback than Anthony Richardson. Aidan O'Connell is a better quarterback than Daniel Jones. I don't even think it's that hard of a disagreement. If that team wanted to make a deal, then it could end up happening. Though, I would say at this point, if you're the Raiders, if you could get a 7th-round pick for AOC, you would probably take that deal. I don't think any other person's going to give you anything more than a 7th-round pick at this point. Coming up next here on the show, we're going to get into another Raiders player that could potentially be dealt. And this one is from a source that is close to us here at Chat Sports. The first one was from the internet. The next one, I would say, might actually have a little bit more legitimacy to it if a trade ended up going down. But if you did not know, I am doing a Raiders meetup on Friday, August 22nd, from noon to 3 p.m. I'm going to be out in Tucson, Arizona. So if you want to hook up with, no, that's going to sound weird. If you want to hang out and let's get linked up together, go to Desert Shark Tucson. The address, it's right here. If you want to know what the logo looks like, it's this bad boy, my guy Fabian Moreno, a.k.a. the Night Devil. He is the owner and operator here, and he's super excited to be able to get a bunch of people from Raider Nation all together. So if you bleed silver and black, and if you want to link up, it's probably the right way to say it. My wife's going to go, man, I heard you're trying to hook up with a bunch of Raiders fans out in Tucson. We're going to have some fun. We're going to have some food. We're going to have some drinks. What do you say? That's true. Chugs did say we are playing the Niners. I think it's me saying bang, bang, Niner gang to start the show. Now a bunch of shit is coming out of my mouth that just sounds weird. If you just want to pause the video here or drop a pause down below to know you heard all that weird stuff, shout out to you. Let's go to the final story here on today's show, and it's around Trey Taylor. And could he end up being traded? I'm going to give this one still only one just win, baby, because I would say that the chances of Trey Taylor being traded are less than 25%. And I do want to be very clear here. To my knowledge, the Las Vegas Raiders are not shopping Trey Taylor. But you got to look at what has happened recently when you talk about this trade rumor here. So let's first get into why this could potentially end up going down. A source close to Taylor's team said that they wouldn't be surprised if a trade happened. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is because when you talk about moves, you have to talk about what could happen. And the move that I'm referring to is Terrell Edmunds. And yes, the Raiders did end up going out. They signed Terrell Edmunds over the weekend. And because he is a veteran, because he's got some coaching connections here, I do wonder if that could translate to a guy like Trey Taylor, a guy like Chris Smith being like, man, I don't know what that means exactly for us. I have also been told that multiple teams are interested in Taylor if he were to be released. And the reason why I'm giving this, again, only one just win, baby, and the reason why that we're talking about it here is because I don't really think Taylor would end up being traded. Now, maybe you're able to get a 7th-round pick in 2026, a 7th-round pick in 2027, but I think ultimately what ends up happening is the Raiders move on from Trey Taylor, he hits the open market, and then a team would end up claiming him, putting him on the roster. Because as much as I like Taylor, and as much as I think a lot of Raiders fans like Taylor as well, he did not play well at all against the Seattle Seahawks. I understand that he was the Jim Thorpe Award winner in college football from Air Force, but he was a 7th-round pick by the Antonio Pierce Todd Telesco regime, so they're not owed him anything. And the Raiders like Harper. The Raiders like, I think, Smith a little bit more, who's somebody that they filled in for. And since they know now that Lonnie Johnson Jr. isn't going to be done for the season, they expect him back week 4 to 5. I think that just makes it a little bit more difficult for Taylor. And I think people close to Taylor are starting to understand that, yeah, he might not be a Las Vegas Raider this upcoming season. So to me, there are 3 teams that I am going to throw out in terms of who could potentially be interested. The first one that you got to talk about, and it's the Baltimore Ravens, because one, the Ravens lost Ardarius Washington, and I talked about this probably 2-3 months ago when the original injury ended up going down, but Washington, he plays strong safety. He ended up getting injured, and I thought, could the Ravens be interested? For those who also do not know, Trey Taylor is related to Ed Reed. Ed Reed, obviously, probably the greatest Ravens safety, not probably, greatest Ravens safety of all time. Next name I'm going to bring up here is the Detroit Lions and Maurice Norris. He suffered that wicked injury, and again, man, I'm really hope that prayers to him, the Lions, his entire family. That was a really, really scary injury. hate to even say it, but it did. It reminded me of the whole DeMar Hamlin situation, and I think it just goes to show, always hug your loved ones before you say goodbye because you just never know what can happen. Life can throw you curveballs all the time. So I'm going to throw out the Detroit Lions, and then I'm going to throw in the Houston Texans, and that's only because I know the Taylor family does live down here, and I did have a source tell me one time that they would love to be able to play either for the Cowboys, play for the Texans. Not saying that they wanted to do that, but this was before the draft process, so just keep that in mind. So here is my projected trade cost if a team ended up doing it. If you wanted to say, hey, Baltimore Ravens for a 7th-round pick, I think that's what's going to be the price tag. And some people might go, oh, man, that's not enough. You got him for a 7th. You're trading him for a 7th 2 years later. That's a good value for a 7th-round pick if I'm concerned. Like, that's like you going out and buying a 2024 Honda and selling it 2 years later for exactly what you paid for it. I get it's a car, it's a person, it's a little bit different, but it is good value, and I will always wish the best for Trey Taylor because I got nothing but love and nothing but respect for him. I think he is a stand-up human being, and I do think he is going to be a good football player on whatever team he ends up landing on, if it isn't the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, again, y'all, if you made it this far in the video, sorry that today maybe seemed like we were a little all over the place. Chugs and I had our first show all scripted out, ready to go, and then the Las Vegas Raiders ended up signing Marquez Callaway. But you know what? The silver and black, they always keep us on our toes, and I try to do the same. If you want to be kept on your toes, hit that subscribe button. Make sure that those notifications are turned on, and we will be live tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Pacific, here on the Raiders Report.